Hi everybody, this is the baseball head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, the Hunt, and this is another episode of the Insane Asylum, known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha, they're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
Now, welcome back to the Baseball Hut. Hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. We're back chronicling the insanity of the legendary radio station WFAN. I'm chomping at the bit at this, waiting for them to make fools of themselves, and they always make fools of themselves. They can't help it. They got 24 hours in the day, 7 days a week to talk stupid, and they always give your host plenty of ammunition. Now, they've been very quiet of late because our New York Mets have been playing rather well, and they really have been beside themselves because it's all part of the grift, you know. I mean, they're a New York station, New York City, radio station talking about sports, but these guys are anti-Met fans of the major order, and a lot of people that watched it and listened to the radio station are anti-Met fans and angry Yankee fans that are very bitter that they've not been to a World Series in more than 25 years. They mentioned that the Yankees have not won a World Series in 25 years. They've won one in that time, but that's it. And a lot of bitterness is from that. New York City is a Mets town. It always was, and that's where a lot of this sort of anger comes from the Yankee fans. They know that. But anyway, WFAN has been on the Mets case since last year, and they were a little slow to the uptake. They were a little slow attacking the Mets. I was on them back in May of 2023, concerned about how well they were playing. It took them another month to figure out the Mets weren't playing well. Then they decided to go scorched earth and basically go after everybody that didn't move. A particular target's been Pete Alonso. But really, since we've had the problem where the Mets got rid of the general manager and they hired David Stearns to run this club, and really since the trade deadline last year, WFAN has been off the rails. The Mets said at the trade deadline last year that they were not going to spend a lot of money last year because they had a lot of money on the books. They wanted to get rid of it. The free agent class this past offseason was not very good. And they were going to do everything they could to get the postseason, get the playoffs. The Mets have not done it yet. They're getting awfully close to it. They're 8-2 in September. They have a one-game lead on their wild card spot. They're within 2 games of the number 1 wild card spot in the National League. So David Stearns, Steve Cohen said they were going to get the Mets to postseason. They've gotten very close to it. They've kept their word to us as Mets fans. They said they were going to put a competitive team on the field, and they were going to put a team that was going to win a wild card spot. They're right there with 16 games to play. They could lose it, or they couldn't, but this has been a very resilient team. On Wednesday, they had the best win of the season, and probably one of the best wins they've had in 10, 15 years. There's something going on here that's a little bit different than in the past, and very much, this team's very similar to 2 years ago, but it's a little bit better and a little bit different because this is a win in September. This is not happening in April or May or August. This win on Wednesday with Francisco Lindor hitting a home run to tie the game when the Mets hadn't had a hit. That's not something they did 2 years ago. Now, I would mention this. The way they've been playing this year, it's very similar to how they played 2 years ago up until September. And also I would mention this as well, that this team could validate the team from 2 years ago. It's a redeeming thing. Baseball is a game of redemption. And I think that might be what we're dealing with right now. But the hosts at WFAN are very much, like I said, anti-Met fans, because they know their audience. We've seen from when Sal Licata worked for a different radio station that he wasn't on the attack with the Mets. But since he's gone to WFAN, that's all he does is attack the Mets. I think a lot of this is phony. A lot of this is to get people to listen to their lousy shows. And they still have the sort of formula of the shock jock, that Imus perfected and Howard Stern perfected. But really, it just alienates so many Mets fans. I can't tell you over the last year how many people have written to me telling me how angry they are that they don't listen to WFAN because of how poorly the Mets get treated. Now, on Thursday, Met fans should be happy about the way they won on Wednesday. and how well they played, not only since the beginning of June, but really this month at 8-2. And they had not a very good August. It was a very tough August. Very difficult schedule. The Mets, you talk about dog days. That certainly is it. Well, the morning show has this sort of habit, and that's Boomer and Gio, as we like to call it here, Norman and Gregory, do this thing, this good cop, bad cop. Usually Boomer Esiason is the good cop, and Greg Giannotti is the bad cop. That's pretty much the MO. Now, this is from Odyssey. They've been very, very careful about how your host has been, how they put their social media out there. They play clips on Twitter to where I can't use the clips. I like reading the clips to you, reading the quotes from them, because it gives you a better idea. Because they're promoted. I can use it, and I don't have to worry about using their stupid audio where I get a copyright strike. I don't want that. But this is Odyssey.com, and I would mention they have changed their social media strategy as well, based on me goofing on them all the time. Headline, Gio can't fully enjoy Mets ride because of failures of the 2022 team. Now, this is a totally different team in a lot of ways. Mets pulled off one of their most thrilling wins of the season on Wednesday, with Francisco Lindor breaking up Bowden Francis's no-hit bid in the ninth inning with a game-tying home run, sparking a 6-run rally and an eventual massive victory. It was one of the best wins we've seen around here in a long time. It was a big win. This is the kind of Mike Piazza type win. It was that good of a win. That's what it reminded me of, even better than 2015. Still, even with the excitement of a comeback win, which moved New York back into the final playoff spot, Gregory can't seem to get pumped up about this group, and he blames the 2022 squad. Now, after the 2022 season, Giannotti did nothing but piss and moan about saying that team was a failure, when that team won 101 games, and that Steve Cohen was a failure as an owner. He also said last offseason that when the Mets were signing these different pitchers and different players, that he didn't know who these schmucks were. That's a quote. I don't know who these schmucks were. 4 days after the Mets hired David Stearns, he called for the Mets to fire David Stearns. Quote, you know my history with the Mets, and growing up a huge Mets fan, I don't know what that means. I put in a lot of work as a Mets fan. You do? All you do is complain about them. I need 2022 ruin this season for me. No, Gregory, you ruined it just for yourself. That season was supposed to be so special. And it was so special for so long, and then there was this horrible collapse. Now, like I said, this year they're 8-2 in September. They were never 8-2 in September in September, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they were 14-11. And they struggled to beat teams like the A's and the Marlins, and I guess the Pirates, too, they played that September. It's a real struggle. The Mets look destined to run it high for the National League East crown in the summer of 2022. But the Braves stormed back, dominating New York in a crucial series at the end of the season, and stole the division, Now, I would mention they tied for the division. And the Braves miraculously played 800 baseball from June on. Who plays 800 baseball? Well, we know who does. Historically, the 1951 New York Giants, who, by the way, was doing trash cans long before the Houston Nationals were doing in 2017. Sending the Mets to an early playoff exit against the Padres in the Wild Card Series, spoiling a 101-win season. So while the Mets continue to push towards a playoff berth, Greg can't bring himself to fully buy into the hype. Now, he complained that 101-win season didn't count for anything. It didn't count. It didn't happen. It's almost like, Superman rotating the earth and it didn't happen. That's kind of how he's making it out to be. It's hard for me to get into it because of what happened 2 years ago. Gio said, I'm mad at Max Scherzer. I'm mad at DeGrom and Bassett. I'm mad at all of them. Hey, asshole, they're gone. I feel like this season got ruined for me because that team collapsed 2 years ago. I had that trepidation of buying in because of that film from 2022. This is the kind of insane comments that I get here from guys that have been fans of the club since 1965 and complain that their hearts get broken since 1965. They failed to mention 69, 86, 2000, 2015. But he's still mad at these three people that aren't on the club. They all basically were out right after that. The Mets let Bassett walk, And Bassett complained he didn't like being in New York, quite frankly. Jacob deGrom was not happy being in New York City. He left. And Scherzer was a complete disaster after that. Was killing the Mets and killing the Mets and killing the Mets. That in 2023, every important game, the Mets needed Max Scherzer to win. In 2022 and 23, he screwed it up, and the Mets got him the hell out of here because they were getting tired of watching him, and they paid his money off and got him out of here, and they got a prospect for him. But the idea that you're still like, I hate to use this word, butthurt, butthurt. I mean, like he broke up with somebody. He's still mad at some girl that broke up with him. My goodness. Now, Boomer, who was also known as Norman Esiason, one of the biggest bullies, at any radio station. And it's funny, I said that nobody makes fun of Boomer at WFAN. WFAN started doing these sort of goofs on Boomer, making it seem like he's just a magnanimous guy. He runs the radio station. He's the Imus of you. You know what's different about him and Imus? I mean, actually, he and Imus have a lot in common. Aside from the talent and the humor and the brains, they're very much the same. But anyway, I would mention this about Boomer. Nobody makes fun of Boomer. Nobody goofs on Boomer. And then I mentioned that, and they started making fun of him. Then for my benefit, I make them jump. I don't know how this video's going to do. We'll see. But this again from Odyssey. Now he's the good cop on this radio show. He's the good cop. Like I said, Greg is the bad cop. He's always the bad cop. For Boomer's all in on the Mets. Maybe there's something special. Maybe there's something special happening here. Greg is struggling to buy into the 24 Mets even after Wednesday's thrilling win over the Blue Jays. But Norman says he is having no such troubles. He said maybe. As New York moves back into a playoff spot, Boomer says he's all in on the playoff chase and the Mets' chance of making it a special season if it doesn't feel like one already. How many times have we said, just give me meaningful baseball in September, Norman said, before explaining his reaction to Francisco Lindor's game-tying home run in the ninth inning on Wednesday. I felt a sense of euphoria. I feel like morale here has been in the toilet because of what happened in the football teams. And the Yankees have been inconsistent, but the Mets have been surging here. You know what's interesting? Let me read you this again. I feel like morale here has been in the toilet because of what happened with the football teams. If there's morale problems at the radio station, there might be some real problems at that radio station in terms of how they get along. Who's the boss at WF? Is it still that Spike Epstein? Is he really hard? I can say it. Was it Epstein? It doesn't matter. Whoever the boss is, the fact that they say the morale is low there, like I said, need to get some more, exciting kind of drugs for the residents there. That might be the problem. There is still work to be done, and it doesn't get easier as the Phillies and Braves away, but Greg believes this group has what it takes to get it done. And still isn't ruling out Pete Alonso waking up and carrying the Mets to a playoff berth. Got to get that negative in there. I don't know what to tell you, bro. Bro, I'm in. Yeah, okay. I mean, this is like this kind of conversation between Carl from Sling Blade and somebody else in the I'm all in, bro. I mean, really. The second half of the season has been great. They're just coming off a 9-game winning streak. The pitching staff has been good. And Francisco Lindor had a little dip, but he came up huge. Maybe there's something magical happening here. Well, maybe. But like I said earlier, the home run by Lindor, as soon as he made contact, your host was jumping up and down because you knew that ball was going out. And you could tell by the way Gary Cohen called that at bat, that he knew how important that at bat was. And it was so important. It was so enormously important for the Mets to finish this game out, to win the game. It was so important. Even though they tied the game up at that point, it was so important to finish the job and get the win. Now, WFAN peddles in negativity. They do things based off of an old template of being negative, shocking the viewer, shocking the listener to engage in that show and any of the shows at that radio station. Now, the problem is, as a fan, you really don't have an alternative, and even the alternative is even less now, because ESPN Radio is now owned by Odyssey and CBS and WFAN. So Michael Kay is their bitch now. So even if, But Michael Kay just repeats what they say anyway. So again, there's really no alternative to the media, to the corporate media, the corporate message. And the corporate message is for WFAN is whatever they do is wrong, and even when they do it right, it's still wrong. Last year, guys like Salicata were wearing paper bags on their heads, doing their radio programs, telling everybody how embarrassed it was, Met fans. And now they're all out there with the pom-poms and cheering. And you got this poor guy in the morning who's always depressed, wanting to depress his own viewers and listeners. Yeah, I feel bad for him. I hope he gets some help. And this is another episode of the Insane Asylum known as WFAN. Subscribe to the Baseball Hut.
They're coming to take me away, ha ha. They're coming to take me away, ho ho, hee hee, ha ha. To the funny part.